A look back at the tour, Spurs obviously unbeaten, beat Auckland, drew with Sydney, winning on penalties, and then obviously got that last gasp winner against Chelsea in the last game. Spurs took home the Sydney Cup, well, without the cup. So we won it, but there was no cup to hold up, unfortunately.
Couldn't even lift the trophy.
No, not like in other pre-seasons. De Zerbi said, "Now we're not lifting any of these crappy tournament cup anymore. We're going for the big things next season." So we're going to have a look at who did well, who didn't do so well. But these are the minutes played by each and every member of the squad. We took a 35-man army out, and obviously I think it was only 5 players that didn't see a minute. So Mickey van der Ven, Destiny Udogie, Dylan Thompson, James Maddison, and Damola Ajayi didn't play whatsoever.
Danso got a nice 3 minutes.
Yeah, Danso, Reece Russell, Denny got 3 minutes. But as you can see on the top of the chart, Archie Gray. Archie Gray was fantastic on the tour, to be honest. Captain, I think, on all 3 games. I think he was the captain. I think he was definitely one of the winners. Archie Gray, filling in at right back, looked good in the centre of mid when he played there as well. He looks to have bulked up a little bit as well, Archie Gray. So I think some big things expected. I think De Zerbi clearly rates him, doesn't he?
Yeah, and the fact that he was captain against Chelsea when there was a lot of other experienced players on the pitch, I think just goes to show how much De Zerbi values him. I think he played well pretty much every game, whether it be midfield or right back. I thought he had some really strong showings. He seems to be using his game IQ even more as he progresses as a player, and obviously physically he seems to be coming into a new zone now as well. He's got good technical ability. So yeah, I think he had a really strong pre-season, really strong showing. Yeah, really happy with him.
Everyone on the left-hand side of the chart, I think, did well. To be honest, you look, Manuel Solomon, I thought did very well. Malachi Hardy was probably a surprise package, albeit we saw him against MK Dons and he played very well in the second half, but he backed it up on the tour.
I think if we're looking at real top of the list winners, I think he might be number 1 because he's really come a name on everyone's lips, isn't he? And everyone is talking about Malachi Hardy at the moment because of how impressive he's been and the fact he's only 18. And we've got a lot of talented centre backs and some we've even sold. We're now looking at him thinking there's a real future and a real talent there, and he played with such maturity. He seemed to be able to take on De Zerbi's instructions at such a young age to quite a decent level. He was throwing his body on the line, but he was also showing composure on the ball. This guy is one that I think everyone got excited about during the tour the most. So I think he's maybe the biggest winner, I think, out of this tour.
Yeah, I do agree with that. He looks like he's got such a big future ahead of him. Such a big future. Yeah, I'm looking at the rumours of him going out on loan to Leicester, and I might be thinking I thought it was a good move when I heard about it in the first instance, but I think maybe he can do a bit better than League One. I think he can go to the Championship. He looks so good, man. Why not in the Championship?
Following Philip's footsteps. Yeah, I mean, obviously it would be his first loan move, so you've got to decide what kind of level. Obviously Leicester are a big club, so although he's in League One, it's does have the more of a championship feel than being
it's true, but it's just the level of football you're going to be playing week in, week out.
Yeah, it's true, but then at the very least he's playing in a dominant team in that league, so that'll be good. But yeah, I think I'd prefer him to be in the Championship. But if it is Leicester, I don't think that's a bad move.
I mean, Ty Hall and Rio Kairamatten both did very well as well for young players, but I don't think they reached the heights of what Malachi Hardy did. I mean, Rio, it's just a shame for him getting that hamstring injury towards the end of it. Hopefully he doesn't miss the start of the season. That run he did, bursting through the centre of the park and smashing it against the crossbar, was fantastic. So I think they both are winners of the tour, but we're not talking about them as big futures at the football club. They could do, but not on the same level as Malachi.
Unfortunately, the game Ty Hall did start, which was Auckland, or did he start too? I think the one when we started kids was at Auckland.
It was Auckland. Archie Gray started a right back. Then the next one, didn't he?
I'm just trying to remember because I was ill for one. I didn't really watch the whole thing. So I don't know if he was. From what I saw from him in the other games, he was more of
off the screen, Sammy. By the way, it's been on for ages.
For me, Ty Hall was more kind of like a steady Eddie kind of performer rather than like an outstanding one. I think Rio, to be fair to him, was a really strong performer. Like, he was really helping out his winger. He was getting in forward positions. He seemed to have a bundle of energy. Like, he was much more involved. He was much more noticeable, Rio, than Ty Hall. And so from that point of view, you've got to give him a lot of credit for making a bit of an impact.
No, he started both games. Yeah, you're right.
He did start.
He started against Sydney as well.
Yeah. Okay. So I think Rio made more of an impact than Ty Hall. I think Ty Hall was just like not looking out of place, whereas Rio was looking quite involved.
Yeah. I just think it's just the nature of the two players as well. Like, Rio is just a very busy player. It seemed like really busy player. But look, both have got futures. We'll see where they are, but them two I thought did well. I mean, Ben Davis, I thought he was a very steady pair of legs throughout pre-season.
Good against Chelsea, really good against Chelsea.
I thought he was brilliant every time he stepped foot on the pitch. There was one game, I don't know who it was against. Was it against Auckland or Sydney? He was just popping it around. The ball playing ability was fantastic. So Ben Davis may be showing he still has some life in him just yet.
No life in the old dog just yet. Maybe. We'll see.
Matty's Tell, obviously.
Yeah.
Fantastic. In terms of the players that are already first team players, he's probably the biggest winner out of all of them, because there's a lot of question marks about Matty's Tell right now. Everyone's saying, sell him, he's not good enough, he's not ready. For me, like, I've always said, like, I think there is a good player there, but I just think he's too raw and he's not ready to be to where we want to be. But I think this pre-season, he's done a lot better than I expected. A lot better.
I think, in terms of what you're saying, out of all the players who we expect to be first team, he was the one most playing like he had a point to prove. He wasn't just using it as fitness. Like, he was actually trying to put in good performances and trying to impress the manager. Obviously, he knows that we're trying to maybe sign some attackers, but he's trying to also send the message, look, I'm still here. You can rely on me as well. I can be a big part of the attack if you give me trust. And I thought in all the games he played, he was a threat. He was confident. He had actually a bit of quality at the end of it as well. He was getting shots off. He was creating chances. I thought he was hard to deal with all the fullbacks that he came up against. Scored a brilliant free kick. Had a really good assist for Richarlison. And a couple of times as well, he went on these mazy runs and nearly scored really impressive goals. If it wasn't for some good saves from the keeper, the one against Chelsea especially, that really stands out when he went on this Ricky VRS run. So I think for sure he was the one who most tried to impress and did impress probably as a first teamer. I think when you look at the other ones like Gallagher, Rishi, I don't think they showed anything like a new level to them. Like, they were okay, but they didn't they weren't like overly impressive.
Richarlison was classic Richarlison. Yeah,
exactly.
Not impressing, getting 2 goals.
Yeah, basically.
That's what he did.
And Gallagher, again showed what we know of him. Very, very good off the ball. Late runs in the box where he was a threat, but a lack of quality on the ball.
The thing is with Tell, and if you're comparing him to Manuel Solomon, like, I think Tell looked a lot better. He did look a lot better, but I just felt that Solomon looked more effective in the final third. I think that's how I'd compare the two.
I would say Manuel, I thought Tell looked more threatening, but then Manuel, when he did get into the positions to create the chance, he had that bit more composure, and he had that bit more just like, just care to make sure that his pass finds a teammate and it creates an opportunity. So I agree with that. But I agree with that. I think Manuel, we didn't obviously mention, but he had a really good pre-season. I thought in each game he acquitted himself
very well.
Like, I can't complain about any of his performances really.
Yeah.
Tonali, I thought was pretty good overall. I think it seemed to be a thing. Like, it took every time he gets on the pitch, it took him like 5-10 minutes to kind of find his bearings, and once he did, he was like started to control the game a bit, and that was like really encouraging.
I was very impressed with Sandro Tonali, to be honest.
Yeah,
really impressed. Aggressive. He looked so good on the ball. I don't know if you saw against MK Dons. I know it's not on the tour, but he played this one ball, like, to Tell. It was just like, wow. Like, I didn't even know you had that in your locker. Like, seriously, like, literally through the eye of a needle, outside of the boot, I think, or might not have been, but it found its way through like 3 men to Tell. It was just incredible. So if he can produce that in the Premier League, like, wow, we've got an even better midfielder. Who I thought, I mean, another big winner, was obviously Luca Williams-Barnett. I think his best performance of pre-season is still probably the first game against MK Dons, but he still showed on the tour that, you know, there's a potential player that can see some minutes this season.
Yeah, I think so. Like, obviously he's still, you know, got a lot of improving to do, but you can see the natural talent, and you can see physically he's not like the other youngsters. He seems to be a bit ahead of them, and obviously he played central mid against MK Dons, but that was on the tour, but he was really good. And then he played, what did he play against Auckland in the 10? Was it?
No, left wing, I think it was.
Against Auckland, because he played Sydney left wing.
Oh, so it was in the 10, yeah.
Was it the 10 against Auckland? And he showed little like bits of nimble play, and then against Sydney he showed off his dribbling ability, able to take on his fullback and you know, looking really confident, wasn't shy about taking responsibility himself, cutting inside and shooting and those kind of things. Obviously I thought he was really also linking up really well with his fullback, making clever decisions. I think when he cut inside and had like multiple options to choose from, he kind of struggled a bit, and maybe he just needs refining in that moment. But I thought he just showed his natural talent, didn't he? And he showed why everyone's excited about him, I think. And for a kid of his age, on you know, his first set of games against, you know, adult males essentially, and against proper players, he really showed that he can perform at that level.
Yeah, absolutely. I love his first touch. To die for. It looks like he's got already like envisaged a picture of the game in his head, and he's able to put it on the pitch. Like the way he just glides through the pitch is just phenomenal. And for a player of that age to do it, or you know, on, like you say, in the men's game. I know it's only pre-season, so. But look, the level of player against Auckland and Sydney ain't great, but physically he looked like he was able to compete, which is really impressive. Andy Robertson, though, you know, up and down. I mean, the first game when he came on, he looked brilliant. He really did. And, you know, he was bursting down that left-hand side. He was putting in crosses. And he looked good. You know, everyone was waxing lyrical about him after that 20, 30-minute cameo, linking up really well with Luca Williams-Barnett in that sense as well. But that game against Chelsea was pretty concerning, to be honest. I thought he was really bad.
Yeah, he was making some really uncharacteristic mistakes. Like, he was switching off a bit. He just seemed to be off the pace as well when the ball was played into him. He was kind of like taking poor touches and all that kind of stuff. And we didn't get to see him in the final third as much as we did in the other game. So he didn't get to show off his crossing ability that we know he has. So, yeah, definitely a bit mixed from Andy Robertson. Obviously, we've seen him be a fullback over, you know, the last 10 years in the Premier League. So we know he's capable of much better performances. So I'll hopefully put it down to rustiness. But for sure, the game against Chelsea, he was off the pace, and he actually could have cost us a couple of goals if it wasn't for Kinski. Yeah.
And then you see the three goalkeepers playing 90 minutes each. Obviously, Anthony Kinski was head and shoulders above everyone.
What a performance.
That performance against Chelsea is one for the pre-season ages, man.
Yeah.
It really is. Like, some of the that one saves that he pulled off was one of the best saves I've ever seen. And I mean, he pulled off. I mean, he was the sole reason, pretty much, we didn't lose that game.
Well, we won,
and we won. Yeah. So, Kinski, unbelievable. Austin, I mean, was barely tested. Dubravka also.
Had a few good saves, didn't he, Dubravka?
Yeah, I mean, his goal wasn't tested that much, but he's already saved more penalties than Vicario ever has. So, Dubravka in the penalty shootout was decent.
True. Yeah, look, it's not an easy thing to make a pre-season friendly memorable as a goalkeeper, but Kinski definitely did that, and that's how good he was. And if anyone was having doubts about him going into this season, I think that performance would alleviate a lot of people's fears about him being our number one. In terms of like someone like Jamie Dundee, he came into this tour with a lot of talk about him because people were saying De Zerbi rates him, and actually, could he be part of the first team? So judging on that basis, how did you feel he did?
I think Donnelly did really well. I think he was really poor in the first game against MK Dons. Kept losing the ball in terrible situations. But I think in all the other games, I think he was really good. I think he used the ball really well. I think his passing ability was there on show to everyone to see. And he was a threat going forward as well. So I don't know. After what I've seen, it makes me convinced that he can be part of the first team and make a real impact and be the 10. But on pre-season, he looked good. That's all I'm going to say on it, because I think it's hard to say, isn't it?
Yeah, he showed quality, and obviously big moment for him. He came off the bench against Chelsea and basically assisted the winner with a nice effort. And I think he showed what a good left foot he can have at times. I think what was it against Sydney? He just started. He had a couple of long range efforts, which the keeper had to save, and he showed he's got quality. But did he show that he's now ready to be part of a Tottenham team that's looking to compete what we want to compete for next season? I don't. If Zerbi was impressed with him before the tour, I don't know if he comes away from the tour convinced that this guy can be part of the first team just yet.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see, because you never know what he's doing behind the closed doors in friendlies. To what made De Zerbi, impressed by him. So he could stay for this coming season, or at least until January, till Javi's back and Maddison's fully fit and everything like that, just to use an extra body. But Luca Williams-Barnett will be there, and if you ask me, from what I've seen, who I prefer in the 10, Luca Williams-Barnett or Jamie Donnelly, I'm picking Luca Williams-Barnett. So can they both stay and be part of the team next season? Because they're both going to be filling a pretty similar role in the squad. I don't know.
Him and Williams-Barnett? Yeah, I think Williams-Barnett looked like he's a bit more ready, amazingly, even though he's only 18. So,
but don't get me wrong, he still had a very good.
He impressed. But he is a bit older, isn't he? He's 21.
Yeah.
So he's not like he's a teenager coming into the team. He's played at championship level, so he's used to that, at least that level of kind of experience. I'm not saying that doesn't mean what he showed is just awful, but I'm just saying for me it wasn't as impressive as Williams-Barnett.
Mikey Moore, though, I don't think he had a great pre-season. I really don't. I'm a massive fan of Mikey Moore, but I think he failed to make too much of an impact in any of the games. I think obviously he came on against Chelsea where we're down to 10 men. It was hard for everyone, but didn't do too much. I mean, how many minutes did he get in the other games? So against Sydney, did he start?
He started one of them.
He started the first game against Auckland, and I think every time he got the ball, he had 2 or 3 men on him, and it was just a really hard game for him. And I think he did okay, but nothing really to write home about. There were a few little moments in there. And against Sydney, he came on. When did he come on? He wasn't even in the squad against Sydney. So, yeah, it wasn't the greatest pre-season for Mikey Moore.
Yeah, especially after the Rangers loan. You're really hoping, especially as well, there was clips of him with Lancashire doing that finishing, and then everyone was getting hyped and stuff. Yeah, you were hoping, could he really show in this pre-season that he's ready for that next step? But unfortunately, it just didn't quite happen this pre-season. So obviously there's a lot of talks about him going on loan, and yeah, I think that's probably the best thing.
With Dane Scarlett and Yang Min Hyuk, obviously Scarlett scored in a game, but I don't think either of them had a particularly good pre-season. I mean,
Yang especially.
Yeah, Yang was probably the worst player of pre-season.
How many sitters did he miss in this pre-season? Quite a few.
That sitter against MK Dons, that really is one for the ages, man. That is But
then as well,
the biggest sitters I've ever seen.
And then as well, I think Robbo laid one on a plate for him, and he fluffed it as well.
Yeah. So Yang, unfortunately, I don't know what to say on Yang. He was just really poor. Scarlett, I mean, he shows the work rate, effort, desire, always hassling and harrying, but just not that much quality on the ball with Dane Scarlett, albeit he did score a goal.
Yeah, he loves pre-season, doesn't he, Scarlett? He always seems to come around and is okay, this kid, can maybe score goals, but yeah, I think it's time for him to move on. I think he needs to just find his own path, and I think there's somewhere in there a decent player. I just think we've really bungled his development quite badly. I think it's a lot of on Tottenham, why he's the player he is at the moment. And I think if he can find a home somewhere, play consistently, I think he can start to score goals regularly.
Yeah, I guess the only other 3 players to talk about is Solanke, Van Hecker and Mateus Fernandes. The other ones just got, a few minutes here, a few minutes there.
Yeah, Bergvall we didn't really touch on, but he had a decent tour, I thought.
Yeah, I thought Bergvall was a lot better in the first game than he was in the second game. I thought he was really, controlling things in the first one.
Against Chelsea, I thought he was all right, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was all right, but he was much better in the other game. Much better. I love Lucas Bergvall. I want him to stay. I just don't think he will. I think we're going to end up selling him. And that'll be that. Unfortunately, I think he wants to stay. I think De Zerbi wants to keep him, but I think the sticking point is always going to be the game time, and I think he's going to go and fulfil that at another club.
Yeah, I liked what I saw, as I usually do with Lucas, but the annoying thing is he seems to be refining some things which, you know, he was struggling with, like maybe taking a few less touches and maybe showing a bit more composure and stuff like that, which, you know, last season he did struggle with quite a bit. But I really think De Zerbi can take him on another level, but unfortunately you might not see it.
Yeah, Mateus obviously didn't get too many minutes. He came on, I think, in the first game, and he looked good, was playing these constant through balls. But unfortunately, due to fatigue, he didn't play much more. And Solanke, he got 45 minutes this pre-season. I think he's had a really bad pre-season, to be honest.
He's had two 45-minute games, hasn't he? One against MK and one against Chelsea.
Started the Chelsea game, didn't he?
Yeah. I thought he was pretty anonymous, but then I also felt in the last 10 minutes that half, he was starting to get a bit more involved, and obviously the half ended and he got taken off. So is what it is. But yeah, I agree. From what I've seen of him, he just seems to be like
anonymous.
Yeah, but what's the word? He seems to be just letting things like drifting by, like passing by, like he doesn't, without really like looking to impress, which is a bit of a shame. Obviously, you got to remember he did have an injury at the back end of last season, but it's been a while now. He's been fit for a while, so you know he should be a lot sharper.
Yeah, he should be. Yeah, it was nice to see Mason Meslier get on the pitch for the short 20-minute spell that he got. But apart from that, yeah, look. The winners.
Danto was a big loser.
Oh. Danto's the biggest loser of the whole pre-season. Completely botched that game.
God.
And so luckily for him, we still won the game. But I guess it was probably a better fitness exercise after Danto went off. So
true.
Maybe he's done some of the players a bit of a service there.
And Van Hecker obviously had quite a very good 45 minutes.
Fantastic, yeah. Very good from Van Hecker. So I think Matty's Tell and Manuel Solomon can leave the tour with their heads held really high. Malachi Hardy as well. So that's the three. Who are the other two biggest winners of the tour, do you reckon? Maybe Archie Gray?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, so Malachi, Tell. Yeah, Luca Williams-Barnett. Yeah, Gray.
Solomon and Gray, yeah.
I guess Solomon. I'm trying. Maybe Rio.
I reckon Solomon was one of our standout performers of the tour.
Yeah, but if we're talking about... Yeah, he was. I guess maybe it bought him a move to West Ham. I'm just talking about winning in terms of like getting something out of it, you know what I mean? I don't know if Manuel's not going to have a future at Tottenham off the back of it, is my point. But yeah, I guess maybe he's going to earn himself a move to West Ham.
Yeah, and obviously probably the five biggest losers of the tour, I would say Yang Min Hyuk, Kevin Danso.
Yeah. Solanke maybe.
Solanke for sure.
Obviously,
probably about it. I think those were just maybe Dane Scarlett.
Dane. And yeah.
Maybe Robertson.
Maddison for not playing.
Yeah, well, you can say Maddison, Van de Ven, you can say all the Destiny Doggy for not playing, but I think...
Yeah, but Maddison needed the game time probably more than those players.
Yeah, but you can't do anything about an injury.
Yeah.
I would say probably Andy Robertson for that the game against Chelsea. It was awful. Expecting a lot better. So, yeah, those are our takeaways from the tour. Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. A lot of people saying Moore, one of the losers of the tour, and Kinski should have been in one of the winners as well.
Yeah, Kinski was one of the winners for sure.
But look, that is